And recording started, so I can start the session. Great. So that being said, actually all your answers in a way or another fall under what lead is, because by the end of the day, the concept that we used to have is very broad, but at the same time, it gives us an orientation of what we need to do in terms of facilitating leadership experiences to our customers. But before we go into all of this and we dig deeper into what lead is and what does that mean by 2021 and for the years to come, I would like to take you back to IC 2021, where we had this amazing LDM launch where we understood what is the main overall process of leadership development in ISEC, making sure that we are validating whatever we had before in terms of the process itself of having a young person taking an ELD program or a leadership experience, an ISEC experience that will take him to receive certain standards, and within those standards, there will be lead that will be embedded. And once they receive those standards, they go into that outer and inner journey where they first, during the outer journey, they live and they get challenged. Like they would, I don't know, like they would interact with multiple stakeholders, for instance. They would see different roles and responsibilities, and they would take the lead on those. And by the end, they will have those challenges that they will be able to reflect upon them during the inner journey. So basically what happens is that during the outer journey or within the outer journey of a customer, the young person would have the ability or the chance or the opportunity to be challenged enough so they can go into the inner journey and reflect upon those challenges and reflect on their own personal goals and have the ability to reflect on all of this and go through the inner journey phase. But for that to happen, we need to deliver lead, because by the end of the day, the lead that we want to deliver is reflective of what the outcome is, which is in this case, the ISEC values. So by us making sure that or facilitating the reflection process of a customer during an inner journey, if it is based on the ISEC values, then the outcome will be much easier for them to reflect on and to get equipped by the ISEC values by the end of the process. So that being said, we need to put it into practice. What does that mean? It means that the lead or the role that we are fulfilling as ISECers should be tangible enough for us to be able to create our own material, to be proactive towards it, and so on and so forth. And for that, we need a common understanding of what our role is, right? So that being said, we have during the summit that we had 1 month ago, yeah, like 1 month, 5 weeks exactly ago, we had this amazing summit with very beautiful people from different countries, different entities, different regions, and different roles and different layers as well. Why I was mentioning the diversity of it, because by the end of the day, whatever you're gonna see has been created by all of these people, and they made sure that it's diverse enough and representative enough of whoever is in this network. Of course, like it won't be 1000% representative, but at least the material that was created could be duplicated in any entity, in any context, and in any region, for instance. So we ended up with this framework that has 3 main elements. The first one is the lead facilitation, which is the skills that we need to develop in order for us to deliver lead. Second is the lead content, which is basically the principles of how to create our own content as ISECers to deliver lead. And last but not least, the lead environment, which is basically the global learning environment that we should use and we should choose in order for us to deliver the lead space. Cool. But at the same time, as you can see, we also defined that ISEC values have 2 defining elements. Sorry, I'm a bit sick, so I need to drink water every few minutes. So sorry in the future, even during the entire session. And then for those defining elements, we made sure that they are much more tangible and we can actually sends them throughout learning objectives. So what learning objectives are? Basically, they are what needs to be learned in order for us to practice the ISIC values on daily basis. So it's a set of knowledge, it's an understanding uh, of what is needed to be learned in order for us to be able to practice empathy, or for us to self-develop ourselves based on feedback, and so on and so forth. So to dig deeper into what learning objectives are, they are basically um, like they make whatever defining element a little bit more clear into an understanding of what should be doing or what should we learn in order for us to design or to create our own lead content. But how do we use those learning objective for session design or for material creation? Is basically every single learning objective has 3 guiding questions. So let's go back to it. We have this, sorry. Yeah, we have the ISIC value, and for each ISIC value, we have 2 defining elements, and for each defining element, we have 3 learning objective. And for each learning objective, we have 3 up to 4 guiding questions. So those guiding questions would be used usually to understand what the learning objective is, but also to fulfill the session objectives. Because the learning objectives are mainly the lead space objectives, whether it's a session, a one-to-one, individual discovery and self-reflection, anything that you'll be using should, by the end of the day, has as a goal for the audience to answer those questions. As simple as that. So to make it like easy for everybody and to picture it all together. So as you can see, this is the ISIC value that we are talking about, and that's an example. And this is the value description of what the ISIC value is, knowing that we also had time to go through the descriptions of our ISIC values and make sure that the insights of the network and the members are being embedded into those descriptions with multiple iterations and so on. So we have this ISIC value. One of the defining elements is self-development based on feedback. And this is one of the learning objectives that we are talking about, which is giving and receiving feedback. To make it easier for us, giving and receiving feedback as a knowledge set would be relevant for me as a customer to get this content or to get this set of knowledge for me to be able in the future to self-develop myself, or to develop myself, sorry, based on feedback, as well as understanding personal strengths and weaknesses, as well as communicating effectively. So these are like 3 different learning objectives that I can choose one in order to create my lead space. And in order for me to create my lead space, I need to understand also the guiding questions. And those guiding questions, of course, they are guiding us throughout creating our own content and our own lead content that can answer these questions and make sure that the audience or whoever is receiving lead is able by the end of this space to at least answer 1 or 2 questions of this learning objective. Cool. So that being said, is there any question? Because I'll have like small breaks in the middle where we can actually have conversation in case you have questions, concerns so far, like, is everything clear? And it's also a very nice excuse for me to drink water. So take your time. In case you have any question, you can unmute yourself or you can chat in the box. All good? Great, amazing. Cool, so by the end, we understood that lead is basically the method in which the development of ISIC values is being facilitated through the inner journey. So at that moment, we also understood that all lead content is based on one inner journey phase. So it needs to at least contribute to one inner journey phase. It means also that you can contribute or facilitate more than one inner journey phase. But for us to have like a standard minimum everywhere is to have it as a minimum 1 inner journey phase to be facilitated. And then at the same time, within that lead space, within that guided, self-guided content or facilitated content, the customer or the member needs to learn and reflect on their own progress throughout their experience, and understanding how are they gonna live the ISAC values, or how are they living the ISAC values in the middle of the experience. So that being said, we had three main components, as we used to have also in the lead previously. First, lead facilitation, lead content, and lead environment, right? So lead facilitation, as I said in the beginning, is mainly how to become a lead facilitator and what are the main skills that are required for us to master in order for us to be able to deliver lead. So what we did is that we mapped out the general skills that every single ISACer needs to have in order for them to be able to deliver lead, which are very general. And I will show you the list in a few seconds. And also you could access it in the output by the end of the session. I'll give you the link by the end, so you do not get distracted. And at the same time, we made sure that there are skills that are defined only for specific defining elements, which means that for every single lead content, specifically, you will need to have specific skills. So that also as a recommendation for you guys to think of as an MCP on how I'm gonna use those skills to build it, or how I'm gonna build those skills to my members, and how I'm gonna train them into understanding how they can build those skills to deliver lead and to practice them on a daily basis. Not on a daily basis, but in conferences, in seminars, in one-to-ones, and so on and so forth. Cool. So these are the general skills that we understood that they are common in every single lead session that needs to be delivered, which is basically storytelling, public speaking, session design, material design, audience management, and communication, of course. So all these general skills, they do go under the idea of these are like the minimums of what every single lead facilitator should have in order for us to move forward. But of course, at the same time, we told you like that we have some skills that are defined only for specific material. So that you will find it in the output, and you can have a look at it and dig deeper into those skills. But what matters the most here is how do I build those required skills? How do I build and how do I train my members for them to be able to deliver lead? So first of all, members training, which is also one of the things that we used to do in specific touch points, such as train the trainers. I don't know if you remember this, but it used to be happening like as global train the trainer, ITTT and TTT and NTTT and all those nice TTTs, but they are, it's an abbreviation of train the trainer. So you could actually use those touch points in your national plenary, where you train your members, your LCVPs, your LCPs, and even alumni if they want to join, into how they can build those skills and train themselves into public speaking, effective communication, and so on and so forth, especially for the specific skills that we already mapped out. And then at that moment, when it comes to the agenda, the best way possible is to make sure that the agenda contains building capacity for the skills, but also the learning objectives that we were talking about. For example, as I was showing here, the giving and receiving feedback is one of the learning objectives that you could give a session about, and you could build the capacity for, right? Sorry, my slides. Second is national conferences, which you could use already, and you could embed, of course, like lead sessions and lead tracks in your own national conference. But at the same time, you can use those touch points also to build the right skills for your members. At least now you know what are the minimum skills that every single member should have in order for them to deliver lead. And that's all good, because you can build sessions for those. And at the same time, letting your MCVPs practice and lead before going to the customer, because at that moment when MCs are practicing lead, then it means that LCVPs and team leaders or team members are also receiving it, which is super good, because at that moment you will be able to give it as a golden opportunity for your MC members to practice lead, but at the same time for local planaries to understand how does it work and what lead is. Cool. Yes, education cycle. I don't know. I'm coming from two home entities that would use this option very often. Like by any chance, they wanna, I don't know, embed any specific session in the local education cycle. They embed it. Why? Because it's a national membership program. To those sessions being delivered within so member training, national conferences. Also, as I said, you can embed those skills building spaces in national conferences and education cycle, of course, as I was explaining. Cool. So we are done with the lead facilitation, because that's mainly what is it. Of course, in the output, you will have the ability to go through every single learning objective, but also every single skill according to every defining elements that we have. So that being said, if you have any question, type in the chat or let me know, or you can even raise your hand. So far, so we gain time over the entire session. Thank you, I'm gone. Cool, OP is waving. All good? 2, 1, go. Yes, cool. So lead environment, what lead environment is, because that's very important for us also to be on the same page on it. So lead environment is basically the environment we design for each specific lead space. And in the output, of course, you will find principles that should be applied to every single setting according to every lead environment. No worries, I will go through it now so you can understand what I'm talking about. Because the global learning environment that we used to have used to include a lot of things that are related to, I don't know, for instance, like team experience used to be a channel. And having team experience as a channel doesn't make any sense while we are saying that the membership program is based on the team experiences that we are delivering in ISAC. So there were a lot of confusion, a lot of misconception or misunderstanding of what channels are, but also what is the context that we are living in at this moment in terms of the things that we want to deliver to our customers, in terms of the lead spaces we want to deliver to our customers. So first of all, we ended up with these three main environments, which are the me and you, me and myself, me and others, and it looks exactly like this. So me and myself is basically the environment where people can learn through understanding themselves and reflecting on their experience individually, which means that it's self-facilitated space, so nobody from someone else. Cool. So at the same time, we defined what are the channels that will be used in the case. But first of all, there is one slide that I skipped, which is this one. So basically, me and you is, as I told you, the space that is facilitated by someone else. And the approach here would be a coaching approach, and the channel will be one-to-one. So what I mean by the approach also is the way the FASI will be delivering the session, or the way the FASI will be delivering the content in that specific environment. Then me and myself, which is a self-facilitated approach. Sorry. And the channel will be individual reflection and self-discovery. And for me and others, group learning as an approach, and learner circles and workshop as channels. And we also differentiated the workshops to the learning circles. Why? Because what we mean by learning circle is this specific thing. Like for instance, like me delivering now a session is somehow a learning circle because we have a similar experience and we are learning from the space as a learning circle. Other than the workshop, which is mainly about having a practical experience or having um, a practical learning environment where people can learn from each other by practicing things and crafting stuff and getting into like practice much more than just learning. Cool. So yeah, we also defined every single channel, one-to-ones and video reflections, self-discovery, learning circles, and workshops. But also we set a couple of principles towards the virtual settings and the physical settings. Of course, for individual reflection and self-discovery, it's not possible to have like a virtual setting for it. So there is no virtual principles of it because it's individual. Other than, I don't know, I have a joke, but it's very lame. Like artificial intelligence maybe could work, but no, I'm kidding about it. No worries. Cool. So what are the global learning environments? It's very simple. It's just like the context or the location, whether virtually or physically, and the practices as well in which the audience can learn and interact with each other. Second is that each lead space has a specific learning environment. And while we are designing that specific lead space, we need to keep in mind one global learning environment that we're going to use, because each material and each type of content is very different from each other according to the learning environment that we have. Cool. So that being said, regarding a lead environment, now if you have any question, then let me know, because then we will have different concepts to go through as well when it comes to the lead content. So I really want to get all the questions before we move forward so we can actually digest the information a little bit. Sometimes I can go fast, even though I'm not fast, but yeah. Cool, wave. Great, all good. Nice. So we come to the lead content, which is one of the main components of the lead framework, which is basically the main principles of how to design the content of any lead space and the official lead content of ISEC. So you can actually then in the output, and I will show you later on how to navigate throughout the output itself, where you can see the library of the lead content that we have, and you can go through it one by one. But first, let's agree on the principles. So first of all, when it comes to the principles, all lead content is basically customized to a specific audience. So while we are creating a lead session or a one-to-one or whatever material we want to create, it needs to have a specific audience in mind before moving forward with it. Second is that it needs to facilitate at least one of the phases of their inner journey for you to understand that this makes sense or not. Third is that it has to be based on one defining elements, but at the same time, a learning objective, as I was shown in the template in the beginning. Then global learning environment in mind, because one-to-one is different from learning circle, from workshop, and so on and so forth. And last but not least, having a sensing before the space starts and have a follow-up right after. I mean, not right after, it can take time, but the sensing itself is mainly about the level of awareness or the level of knowledge of the audience towards the learning objective we are talking about. So let's imagine that I'm having a one-to-one with Michael, and Michael needs to send me a sensing before the space starts. So he would send a sensing before about receiving and giving feedback. So the sensing would ask me from scale from 1 to 10, how comfortable I am, or how comfortable I am while giving a feedback, or how comfortable I am receiving a feedback. So that's the general. And then after the space being delivered, he waited like for 2 3 more weeks, and then he asked me the exact same question by how was the space, and also how comfortable you are receiving a feedback and how comfortable you are giving a feedback. So that's an example. And in case you're still, or it's hard to picture it, it's all good because we have this slide that is getting stuck now. I don't know why. Yeah, it's a step-by-step process where we can create our own lead content. So first of all is understanding your audience and the inner journey that they have, or the inner journey that they should be in at this moment. Second is choose the value defining element and learning objective. Third is choosing the learning environment. And last, design the lead space, but first run something before you deliver it. So in case it's a bit hard for you to picture it, and it is actually, it's very easy with, it might get easier with this example. So let's just say that me, Aziz, I'm an LCP elect and I wanna do lead for my EB team because I like my LCVPs, and also my MCP just told me, yeah, check this out. There is an output about lead and you can find a lot of material and you can duplicate some or you create your own. So as an LCP elect, I wanted to do this for my EB team, for my LCVPs. So once, since we are in January or in December, I understood that my EB team is in transition phase and they are just getting ready for the term to start by February. So based on that, I understood that they might need to set their personal goals, which is one of the things that I could focus as a phase of the inner journey or an element from the inner journey. So I focused on setting personal goals. Second is that something really matters to me as LCP elect is, and I put it in my action plan, is that I wanted to improve the LC culture and build a very, very strong LC culture that can allow me to drive whatever focuses we have throughout the year. So based on that, I chose to do the space based on demonstrating integrity as a value and doing what is right as a defining element. And from my assessment, I made like a sensing assessment from the LC and so on. And even from the selection process, I understood that we need to improve our knowledge in ethical principles. So one of the learning objectives I found, and that matches with all this context, is ethics and moral as a learning objective. So I choose it and I will be focusing on that specific learning objective for me to design the lead content that I have. And since I chose ethics and moral, it means that I will have to create my lead space answering to these following questions, which are: what are the key ethical norms agreed upon in my current environment? What are the key ethical norms I personally have, and so on and so forth. So these are the three guiding questions that will guide me through creating the lead space I need to create for my EB team. So at the same time, as an LCP, I wanted my EB team to be much more practical and they start having conversations, discussions with each other. So I decided to not have one-to-ones with each one of them. But other than that, doing a workshop so they can interact with each other and also they can build the skills of each other, because by the end, it's just like interactive as a workshop. So it will be much more beneficial for them. So and the last step was basically designing your lead space and running something before delivering it. And that won't happen without having my audience in mind, the inner journey phase that I need to facilitate, the ISEC value, the defining element, the learning objectives, and also the learning environment that I want to use. And all of this in place, I'm ready to start mapping out the activities which will lead me to do the space. And at the same time, I started to send a sense into my EB team so I can understand the level of awareness and the level of knowledge towards ethics and morals, so I can understand how I can follow up right after we start the term, which means in 1 month from now, to ensure that the lead space was effective and was efficient enough for them to set their personal goals and as they go through them through the term. Cool. So in a nutshell, lead is how we bring our LDM to life. How beautiful is this, right? Um, so for that, we need to also understand the timeline and how things should go in terms of the way we need to implement all of this. So if you have any question regarding the process of creation lead content, what if you have any concern regarding one of the principles of lead, then you can ask your question now, and then we can move to the last part, which is about the lead implementation. Cool. Great. So far, so good. Great. Cool. So my entity and lead implementation, which is one of the most important parts also for you as an MCP. Why? Because it's by the end, it's up to you. Like it's up to you as an MCP to define how the entity will function with this concept. Is it gonna be a focus? Is it gonna be something that you will be working on alongside with your MC team or not? And to be honest, like nobody will force you to do it, and nobody has the right to force you to do it, by the way. But anyway, it's just a concept that I believe that it should be there everywhere. Why? Because that's the main essence of what the organization we are part of doing, which is facilitating leadership experiences, right? So we are proposing this timeline for you guys to also have enough time to practice lead within the organization and to make sure that your national plenary is ready enough to start delivering to customers outside of the organization and to start delivering and facilitating leadership spaces to your customers. So first of all, what we are trying to give as a message is that we need to get ready for lead, because lead is not as an easy concept as we might understood. It's an entire thing that we need to create for, and that we need to create materials for, but also we need to follow frameworks. We need to understand also what to expect from ISC International and Regional Office, and that's what this slide is about. So first, what to expect from ISC International and from Regional Office is that there will be a constant lead delivery, whether in global or regional touch points, where you can find the new lead content being refreshed. What do I mean by refreshment here is that we will open a global folder in the LDM hub by Monday. And from that moment until I see at least, you will be able to upload your own lead content. So in case your MCVPTM is, let's say, is passionate about this and wants to create their own lead material, they can create it and they can submit it in this global folder. And once is that done, they will receive feedback and they will receive any recommendation from the global office on how to improve it. And that's gonna be like something on monthly basis. It won't be like very quick. But at the same time, what we are recommending you to focus on is members training and making sure that you're embedding this in national conferences, in even separate touch points that you could have as an MC. Second is MCP to MCP transition. Use the one-to-one material. You will see it. It's super cool because it's very practical and it's very easy to use it. And then replan an agenda, which you can have like 1 hour of a lead space with your MCVPs, especially in the middle of the term. And regional office also, by 2022, they will be so the main idea is here until you get ready for lead to be delivered externally. And like keep in mind that by IC, we'll be able to externalize the lead to our partners and yeah, external. Cool. So in both cases, whether you manage to do this or you manage to train your members the best way possible or not, then the best way is for MC 22, 23, while they are planning, they understand that they need to plan a timeline where they include some of the touch points where they need to deliver lead, or they need to build the skills for members to deliver lead. Also, when it comes to the national lead material, it would be great if they plan ahead when exactly they will be creating the national lead material, who's going to be responsible for it, who should be doing it, and how are they gonna try it or practice it or test it, and then creating a plan to align what kind of sessions should be delivered to LCs. As I told you, like education cycle is also one of the things that could be there, and then making sure that that during IC, as I told you, we'll be externalizing our lead content to partners, but also to ELD customers, and recommended to follow the lead implementation timeline for members that was created by already by MC 2122 in case it's being repetitive. Cool. So what's coming next? Basically, MCP's call, we will have on 11th of November, we will have like 15 to 20 minutes Q&A. So in case you couldn't manage to ask your question now, or while navigating through the output, you came up with different questions, then it's all good, because in the MCP's call, you can come with your own questions, and at that moment we can clarify things. And in case you want to have like a specific implementation plan for your entity, then you can book me for consultancy. I'll be available for the slots that I already put there. And yeah, this is the link for the output. And okay, I'm giving you now the link, but I want to also go like show you how does it look like before. So if I can get your attention for 1 minute, and then you can go and explore it by yourself. So this is like the initial version of what the Lead Summit output looks like, but it has different things other than the things that we worked on in the Lead Summit. And also it has all the material that we've been creating. So you will find here an LDM guide, lead guide. I'll show you how does it look like, because it's also very important to see this. So in order to download the material, you just need to download it below. So you just like need to click on this. And then lead guide, which has detailed information on what lead is and what are the three main pillars, sorry, that we were talking about. And then the lead content guide, which is basically how to create your own lead content. Sorry. Yeah. And then lead facilitation guide, which is mainly about what are the skills that are needed to deliver each of the learning objectives, and what are the skills needed to facilitate lead generally, and so on and so forth. Then a lead environment guide, which has all the learning environments that we have, and you can check the principles for each one of them. Then lead implementation, which has the timeline and everything related to the implementation of lead in the back home, like in the entity. Then templates will be available on November 1st, and all fonts used can be downloaded in this link. And then the lead content library, which is this one. So basically what we did is that we created one material per defining element for each of the ISAC values, which we ended up with 3 one-to-ones, 3 learning circles, 2 workshops, and 4 self-reflection and individual discovery, because they were underrated and they were not used that much. And also it's very useful for MCPs. Why it's very useful for MCPs? Because usually like there is nobody to, except for Tony sometimes, and RM's ED is to ask you, how are you? How do you feel? How do you live the ISAC values? How much are you fulfilling your ISAC values, and so on. And these are like the spaces that you could use and the material that you could use for your own self-reflection of your own self. So you can upload all the content, and also you can upload your own content over here, which can make it easier for you, like for us to give you feedback on whatever material you create. And you can access on the Drive version of the folder over here in case you need it, which can give you like different material like readme first and so on and so forth, because in every single defining element or every single material you will find like the ISEC value, defining elements, and the readme first content. So readme first is like instructions for you to get ready for the material and to be ready enough. And then the session material, which means like the PPT and the outline, which are here in the folder. Cool. Great. So do you have any question? Yes, I do agree that Notion is the best. I mean, I wouldn't say the best, but it's underrated. Cool. Is there any question, any concern, any misunderstanding of, or any clarification needed for the output, or even like for the for one of the main points of the lead framework itself? If there is anything, just let me know.
Aziz, I want to ask a question.
Yes.
So
Sure.
talking about this old lead and everything, when we kind of like delete the LDA that we have to measure the
people are being equipped those values. And for the lead, it will, for now, it will be just like a feedback form where people can just submit their feedbacks and say how efficient the content was or how good the content was. But it's totally different things. I think LDA is still relevant and it's still like the tool of measurement that we need to understand how much impactful we are as an organization while we are delivering leadership experiences. So it won't replace in any way the LDA.
use the LDM, right? So then if, for example, the exchange are, I mean, like the exchange are gonna be massive again and everything, will we use the LDA in which it's measured LDM, or will we have like another matrix to measure the values that is developed in our customers say? Yeah.
Okay, so first, I still don't know by when exactly the LDA will be ready on the platform, like the new tool of measurement that we could have for the specific LDM, because we still didn't finish the ISC International Plan for 2022, and that's like a roadmap project. So it needs to be after the roadmap review because it's the network inputs and so on. So that will take a little bit of time to at least know by when we will have it. That's for sure. But I still think that LDA should be there for us to measure whatever we are doing, because in the 2025 roadmap strategy, it says that by 2025, the main idea of whatever we are doing here needs to end up in a report of impact measurement, like how much impact we are delivering to the world. And for, in my opinion, it needs to have LDA results of how many exchange participants went, how many members got leadership developed, how many members increased their value of striving for excellence and started to strive for excellence more, or how many members like improved the way they live diversity and so on and so forth. So these kind of things cannot be done without LDA. So I think LDA is very relevant in that context. So next year, I would assume that it will be there, but it's also like up to the way projects will be planned.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Cool, cool. Any more question? Any other?
Ashish, I have a question.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
Like, this is related to the portfolio of ours. Like, usually what happened was our membership and then the ELD products. When the customers are purchasing our ELD products, we will get them through the LDM of us. So in the current context, when we are conducting such EVA initiatives like H4TF, do we have to implement the LDM for their journey as well?
No, because at that moment we are not delivering an experiential leadership development, so you don't validated in the future, then yeah, we need to do the exact same way as ELD programs. But for EWA so far, there is no such process that would tell us that this is a leadership development process and we need to do it and we need to facilitate it in the inner journey. So this won't be relevant for it, but still you can actually practice it in case you already like mastering the material, or you have already your own content and you built already specific skills for your members. You can let them practice this with some of the EWA participants, but it's not part of the impact that we are delivering as an organization for our ELD programs, right? So it's not part of the LDM measurement, but it's a very different impact that we are given, and it's also impact. So for me, it's all good, but still, we cannot like embed this into that. Thank you. Cool.
I have a question.
Yes. Last question.
So, yeah, okay. So, will AI downskill this thing, or can we just share the link with our entity now?
So it's gonna be shared by 1st of November, which means in 3 days, if I'm not wrong, on the LDM hub. But you still can share this with your entities if you want, and if you want to create the hype for it, so no worries about it. You can still share it, and also on Monday you will have it And thank you so much, Tony, for the notice. Back to you.
Thank
Nice
you, boss.
I love your mic.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I would let you know where you can buy it. But anyway, thank you, Aziz, for this session.
Thank
I
you.
hope you're enjoying the
Bye
day.
bye.
See you.
See you, AP. Bye-bye.
Okay, people, I know if you are ready, and also you can see my background change, right? So later on, we'll have one song to do the session transition, to transition the next, like the social agenda together. So I will also send this background to the group, MCP group. Prayer, if you can help me to send the, oh, no worry, I can send it there. Just hold on. Yes, it's good to go. Let me send it here. Yes, people, I'll give you 3 minutes. You can go pee, go relax, go stress. I will be back in 3 minutes after one song. And also CC can prepare logistic ready there. And CC, you can start recording. I don't know who is recording right now. Oh, me. Okay, I'm the one recording. Anyway, and yeah,